Hi, my name is Simon Kitvan from the Kitvan episodes, and for your information, that is the episode you are currently watching. So, I hope you guys are doing well. And if you are new here, this is your first time coming to this channel, kindly consider subscribing somewhere down here and turn that post notification bell on so that whenever we upload a video, you get notified so that you come and watch. And we upload one video every week. If you are new here again, we do talk a lot of political analysis videos and tackling just a lot of issues from my country, Kenya. Sometimes we even go outside Kenya and see what's going on in the world there, like today's episode. And also, we talk about just some decent conversations that people sometimes are afraid to have. For guys who love the showbiz side of it, we also do have episodes for entertainment and just fun things. This one is a one-stop channel for most of the things you guys might love. Let's get to this week's video, and the biggest surprise is that I've got a new co-host who will be helping me host the Kitvan episodes. I think he's really fit for this thing. So without even wasting much time, I think we should get to him. So Vin, what you get for us this week?
We're going to be talking about Iran and US relations.
Kitval.
So from my extreme right is Bruno Danga. Bruno Danga is a master's student at University of Nairobi. He did his undergraduate here in the University of Nairobi, and Bruno currently is pursuing IR and is a very passionate student of IR. And next to Bruno is Nuba Chodur. Nuba Chodur is an economist. He's also a researcher, and he also writes a number of articles. And then on my close to me is Bruno Otiato. Bruno Otiato is a student of the University of Nairobi, a very serious student of political science, and also a student of IR. Apart from all that, Bruno is the chairman of NUPOSA, and also the SecGen of University of Nairobi, East Africa model, and he's also a research assistant with Ilman Publishers. So just to begin this discussion, gentlemen, you are welcome. With all the economic sanctions Trump has imposed on Iran, and these economic sanctions, they are not things that began yesterday. They are things that date back in the year 1983, even during the time of Bill Clinton. Iran has survived all the economic sanctions. Can Iran still survive?
Yes, I think first to start with, no nation has died out of being bullied by the United States of America. We've seen since the Second World War they have been bullying other nations. They were in, of course, Japan out of even the Second World War. Japan has now risen to be one of the best economies in the world. We've seen them now, they are very present in countries like North Korea. They had sanctions on South Korea before, when South Korea was a small economy. Currently, they are having a big problem with the Maduro government in Latin America. So I think Iran, out of this, I think they'll come out stronger because number one, they have the natural resources they need to drive the economy. So I don't think they'll ultimately collapse. But you also have to understand that this is how many Republicans who have actually been the ones who have been waging war with the Iranian regimes, many of them have been having their ways of going about it. We are not likely to see the US going on war with Iran, but I think Trump, his modus operandi is like he wants to impose trade sanctions on anyone who disagrees with. So we are not likely to see them going to war, but these trade wars, they are being sanctions that they are imposing on Iran, or the economic sanctions as one want to call them. ultimately they'll collapse with the change of regime. We saw Obama there. When Obama was the president, Iran was trying to get to its feet. But I think with the change of the regime now, we'll see a better Iran. Yeah.
Since Trump came into office, the frustration Trump has given the Iranian government is just way too much. And even looking at the economy, how the economy is doing now, the economy, we can just say that Trump has literally crippled the economy of Iran. And even the impact has been felt even with the Iranians themselves. And just to bring one of the economic minds we have, that is Norbert. But what do you think? What are the impacts of these sanctions that Trump's government has imposed on Iran? And can they survive? That is the question I had posed initially. Can they still survive? Because we've seen even how the economy is doing, even the revenue they used to generate from the oil sector has gone down, and we've seen even the prices of goods going down. What do you think? Do they still stand a chance of fighting to see another day?
Thank you so much, Vincent, for this. This has been very interesting. Reading from the works of classical economists who have been there in the past, David Adam Smith, international trade is one of those most fundamental aspects of international relations that are very important in the world today. And in this regard, there are these anti-globalization facets in the political domain that occupy the left wing of matters politics. And on this other end, we have those who are nationalists. So, checking statistics, Iran recently, the sanctions that have been imposed on Iran has made life become tough, and it has been felt by the citizenry. Inflation going high as above 20. That a figure that is galloping. But remembering the words of the supreme leader of Iran currently, he said that this war, it is not them that begin, but ultimately they'll be the ones that will end it. Figures are the fundamentals that we see in all these things. I strongly believe Iran still stands a chance, and this we will see through this discourse, because they have underwent very stringent conditions, and still they have come out still strong. When it began back in the 80s, they sailed through, even though it has been a bit tough for them. Remember 9/11 and how it has changed every other thing in the world of politics today. And President Trump maintains that he wants to ensure that the oil exports from Iran is reduced to 0%. And as someone who is interested in matters economics, this is very important on one end, because Iran stands as it has the fourth largest reserve of crude oil in the world. And so the only question would be, what will be the impact when that export is reduced to 0%, as the United States intends? That is something to consider. But for the citizenry, we would otherwise have to admit that it has not been easy. But based on whatever you're seeing in the world today, we see the trading partners like China and Russia defying odds of all the things that have been given by the US government, and even intending to have a currency other than the dollar with which they will trade. There is hope for Iran, and I believe that if really things are to go as we're seeing the trend, then Iran will pull through this.
Yeah, talking of defying odds and sidestepping the Trump's administration, we've seen that Iranian government has resorted to EU to at least find a way of getting new trading partners. And we've seen that this has really brought an issue, because Trump said to the EU that should they defy their orders, then there's a possibility that they can even cut ties with them. And just to bring Bruno Odanga in this, what do you think? Can the relationship between EU and United States of the government become strained due to defying this order of Trump's administration?
Thank you very much. It's something that can happen, but I don't think the Iran issue is something that will cause it, because if you look at the history of these countries, basically the US is together with Central Europe and the Western European countries. Basically, they're trying to balance the influence of Russia in that part of Europe. So I don't think an issue with Iran, even though there is an issue whereby the other states, they don't feel like Iran is a threat, because basically it's the US which will do. So I don't believe it's going to have a strain on the issue. Then maybe on the idea of Iran surviving, I believe it will, because it survived for a long time. What we learn from history is that sanctions no longer work these days. Because people, you just rally your national population against a foreign enemy, they'll be able to withstand that sanctions. That's why you see the Americans have right now they're specifically targeting members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, because they believe that if you now target those people who are controlling power, maybe you can have the same impact. But I don't think it's going to happen.
So looking at this deal, the deal that these six powers are signed with the Iranian government, we've seen that a number of them EU government has come out. We saw the other time the chief foreign policy came out and told the press that Iran has not defied, has not gone against the sanctions, and therefore has not gone against the deal, and even the sanctions that have been imposed of them definitely are illegal. And I really want to look this discussion to another level and put it this way. Do you think that Iran has defied has gone against the deal? And if that is the situation, should they be given another chance? Should they still go back to the negotiation table and even seek for more deals? Is that really possible, Bruno? Let me bring
I
you
think
into
I
this
think to understand the deal signed between the US government and the Iran government, you have to understand that it was a deal between, in my view, it was a deal between two people, the president and the leader, the leader not really the supreme leader. Yeah, I think the supreme leader in Iran. But it was hard even for Obama, as he was the president, to rally the Congress to support this deal. You see, now when Obama goes out and Trump comes in, and then you have the National Security Advisor John Bolton, who is known to be a warmonger. You'll remember is one of the guys who advocated for the Bush government, the Bush government to go into Iraq. He has been involved in since the Reagan administration. So you'll see the people even behind Trump, Pompeo, they are not happy with the deal. So there is nothing in the deal, whether good or bad. I think it is in the interest of the foreign policy of the United States government to just be at war with Iran. Maybe because of Israel, because they also want to be at peace with Israel. And Iran is not at peace with Israel, you see. Yeah.
It is in the public domain that Trump pulling out of the deal, it's something that it's not just to push Iran to implement the deal or to keep their part in the deal. But then again, it's been said that Trump administration pulled out of the deal because of the pressure that they were getting from the Israeli government and even from the pressure from the citizens themselves. And I wanted to throw in this question. Do you think that Trump pulling out of the deal is political, or is it in the interest of wanting Iran to keep their part of the deal?
You know what Trump is trying to avoid is to create another North Korea. No, North Korea now they are at loggerheads with the United States because at some point they had a deal and it was respected and they went ahead to create their nuclears, and now they are being brought to the table to negotiate at the same level. You see now, but Iran, Trump views it at this point that he is at such a place that he can try to avoid getting Iran to be the place where North Korea is. So whether he has to cut the deal or to be going at war to introduce sanctions at Iran, that's another issue. What he's just trying to do simply is to not have another North Korea where they'll be negotiating at loggerheads. Yeah.
Looking at the oil market dynamics, there is this argument. Some analysts claiming that there is a possibility for the oil suppliers, the oil market traders to shift the currency and even decide to come up with other form of currencies that can be used in the oil markets. Do you think that is possible? Can the aspect of the dollarization come in?
Thank you again. This is something that is in the public domain. Just recently, there have been numerous cases about President Putin from Russia pushing for that. One of the main reasons is because of the harsh relations that have been there between the United States and Russia. Russia has suffered more than 5 years of sanction imposed by the United States in the economy, and being one of the biggest economies in the world, Russia is a country that has a trade surplus of about $115 billion, and they are trying to balance this against the debt that they have with the United States. And part of it, they have been pushing for a lot of reforms where they want to do a lot of transactions in their own currency. And the same has also been is a conversation being driven in China, and in the European Union. There are other times when there's a currency that is used within the European Union that is just specifically for those countries for transactions. And if we come to think about it in terms of the United States of America, really, some economists have it that the US is headed to some serious recession in the near future, and we are not certain. We don't know how sure that is and whether it is backed by statistics or not. But forecasting the trend, that is what they're saying. And when you talk about the dollarization, remember back in 2001, this is what has been one of the conversations that have been had for a while, that when Russia wants to go back to gold reserves as the unit of exchange, and the Chinese yuan is also gaining power day by day, it spells doom for the United States of America. And really, if the policymakers are not witty and do not come up and come with measures that will prevent that, then it means that they would be on the receiving end in this war, in this trade war, and they are the ones who will suffer. So for Iran, they would otherwise be happy when the dollarization is a success. It will help them. Why? When they are restricted to their transactions, like now, the US has been keenly watching Iran-Iraq relations in terms of trading. Iran, China, and all the other countries. Because as long as the dollar is in place, the companies that Iran trade with have the outlets in the United States and all those other things. As long as there's any tie with the US and the dollar is in a picture, then the sanctions still will, the biting effects will be felt. So there's a possibility. I am very rosy. As someone who believes in the dynamics in this field of economics, I say we're headed to a place where countries may decide to go for another means, whether it is the gold reserves as was supposed to be done in 2001, or the yuan or something else. But that is a possibility. It is really something we cannot wash away.
That is so interesting. A number of countries have decided that it's no longer going to be business as usual. And they decided to defy Trump's orders. We've seen China when the US and Iran will decide now to go to war, as a means of solving everything. Can it get to that point?
It might happen when I'm not alive. Because this biblical notion, it might be soon. Jesus has been coming soon. That's what China keep on saying, or the people who are sympathizers to China, they keep on saying soon Chinese will, but soon might take 1,000 years. But what I'm trying to say is China is trying to make important steps in the international systems. Number one, what they're trying to do, you have to understand the Chinese have learned so much from the failed Soviet Union. They learned that the Soviet Union failed, number one, because they tried to implement and to sell the idea of socialism. As you might be aware, they are trying to sell their culture. That's why they are opening Confucius Institutes and they have all manner of exchange programs all over the world. So they are trying to make their culture be accepted in the world. And you see, by doing that, if the Chinese culture also sells and it's at loggerheads with the Western civilization, some people can look at it from a Western civilization view or a Christian-Muslim war, because this is a Christian country, this is a Muslim country. You see that? So what people are trying to say, that the Chinese might override the US soon, it is not something that might happen.
Russia and China have stated clearly they are on the side of Iran, which means these people have allies, because the allies are slowly alienating America. they're trying to find better solutions, because America with Trump, basically they're trying to it's like a revisionist foreign policy basically, and they're doing away with most of the things which Obama initiated, and those things were meant to ensure these countries are peaceful. So when it goes to war with Iran, I will say both countries stand a chance to win.
There are suspicions that Iran might be funding countries like Syria and Iraq to wage another war with the United States, which is really something that is a worrying trend in the international system. So my question, let me just throw in that one to Bruno.
You have to understand that the conflicts or the war that has that has been prevalent in the Middle East is between the Saudi and the Iran government, and it is a kind of a cold war. They have never fought. The two of them have never fought head on, but they have been having wars in Yemen. They have been having wars in Iraq, and in some of the other Middle East countries. And Saudi, on the other side, is a close ally of the United States of America. You see, so when you talk about that, you see Iran, on the other side, trying to fight wars with the Saudi government. They also fund other militias that are supporting them. Iran has funded all the anti-government, anti-establishment militias that have existed in the Middle East. You remember the Arab Spring that was about taking out leaders. It was Iran funding them. So any country in the Middle East that doesn't support the regime, Iran goes in immediately to fund them. So this puts them in conflict with the Saudi government and with the US government on the other side.
You mentioned very well that Saudi Arabia and the United States have been having very good relationship, and even looking at the some of facts that exist is that United States has even given alternatives to their other trade allies. One of the things that I wish to you gentlemen to help me understand is there a possibility that a time comes when Iran government now will really feel the pain?
Any country that produces is driven by, most of the production is driven by power, especially for countries that where we don't have sophisticated technology. Majority of the countries rely on oil for production, and in any case, it is said that in any case, the United States, being the bully that it is, will succeed in reducing the export levels of oil from Iran to other countries, and that would only means that it's going to be a trickle-down effect that will be felt by virtually every other country, whether it gets oil from Iran directly or not, because all these things, they are linked, sort of a blockchain. In terms of feeling the effects they have, and we can even take statistics from China that has also had sanctions imposed on it in the beginning of this year, but they haven't given in to the demands of the United States explicitly. So I strongly believe that despite the threats, despite the sanctions, despite all these other things that we are seeing happening today, Iran still stands a chance. And the reason why being is some other powers like China, they want to do away with the notion that the US want to be a hegemony in the world, that it controls all the factors of production, and it decides the side that everything goes.
Just to bring Bruno Danga in this, do you think moving forward there comes a situation where Iran can really be so constrained until even they cannot be in a position to even deliver to the citizens, because we know that it's this oil that it's really supporting the Iran economy, and we've seen that with the few days that they have been sanctioned, the impact has been felt. Do you think moving forward there might come a situation where the worst may come to the worst?
Yeah, I believe it's something that is bound to happen, because with sanctions, basically it means your economy is really constrained. The price of things go up basically, and life becomes hard. And the moment you galvanize your people to understand that your problems are being caused by other people, definitely they'll not be against the government really much, because you find that America, they have tried on this actually, even trying to have change in regimes, but it's not something the Iranians really have done. Because basically the Iranian Revolutionary Guard basically has a very strong hold over the Iranian government. And you find that these are people who have withstood it with time. And basically the way they portray the US as the enemy means this is a Western influence basically together with the Saudi allies. So, and I believe the Iran-Saudi antagonism is also a factor in it.
We know of the Strait of Hormuz. First of all, is it possible for them to close down the Strait of Hormuz? And if they go ahead with the threats and close down the Strait of Hormuz, do you think that this will also be affecting them, Bruno?
The answer is simply yes, it will affect, but whether they'll close it or not, it's another issue. In Africa, I think for the first time when US, it was really not US so much involved, but it was more Britain involved. When Egypt was having an issue in the Suez Canal, Egypt, the Britons decided to go. And when they decided to go to leave the Suez Canal to the Egyptians to manage, the Egyptians still managed. So trying to close down the Suez, the strait, I mean, it is a tall order. You might try, but you might have a lot of difficulties because it's not only Iran. It is a very focal point in the Middle East.
Yeah, Iran are just gatekeepers.
Yes.
And we also have other actors involved. Very
Yes.
true. Gentlemen, I think we've come to the end of our discussion. It was nice having a discussion with you. We are going to have a series of discussions. We are going to be talking about a number of things. Today we decided to go international, and we had this gentleman being part of the team that is helping us, steer this discussion. On Kit1 episodes, this is where we wrap it up. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, and it was nice hosting you. Probably, yeah, you can have a final take.
Yeah, my final take on this issue is simple. I don't think the world should be very much concerned about the Iranians having nuclear weapons or anything, because that's where the world is moving. I think I'm even more worried knowing a man like Donald Trump has the nuclear passwords or passports. To me, it is more dangerous having a man like him in possession of nuclear weapons than the Iranians. But more fundamentally, I think, as you saw the other day, when he tried to wage war, he said he was trying to go to war with Iran, but he asked the number of casualties. He was told it's 150. He said, no, let's call it off. See, this is a man whose mental, if subjected to a mental test, I don't think he'll pass. But because of that, I think we should be more worried as a world having such a man controlling the nuclear weapons.
Thank you, Bruno. Let's have you.
Mine would be a simple one. One senior policy fellow at European Union, Eli Geran Mai, I hope I've pronounced it right, said, I quote, "Don't be of how painful this will be," talking with regard to the effect that this whole thing will have on Iran. He went on to say that Iran has weathered tough times and has always gotten out of it. Iran, they are a creative people, and they will find creative means of selling their oil, and has always been, they will always pull through. So in all these things, it is a battle of the wits, a battle of minds. I don't think it will take us to a war, but whatever it may be, I am very rosy about Iran, and they will pull through all this.
Thank you, Norbert. Thank you, Norbert.
The US still trying to reassert its power in the Middle East, because we find that the only challenge they face so far in the Middle East is from the Iranians. I believe with the issue of nuclear weapons, I would also say maybe it's something Iran should have, because once they have it means it's a force. For them it's actually good. It means it will act as a deterrent. The US will never try to attack Iran. And I think also when you look at it strategically, basically the US really wants to have control over, doesn't want to be challenging in most parts of the world, because you find that in Asia, China is challenging its power. When it comes to Eastern Europe, right now we have Russia. Then in the Middle East, we have Iran challenging its power. And I believe any serious power you'll take great measures to ensure you maintain your power. And I believe if the US really feels that Iran is really going provocative, maybe they'll have to attack it and
their circuits. Every time United States consider making friends than making enemies, they have so many enemies now in the international system, and that's where we bring it to a close today. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. And even moving forward, we're still going to have a number of discussions pertaining to the world politics. And even next week, we'll be coming back to our region. We'll be focusing on matters politics in our country, Kenya. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and that is how we bring it to a close. It was nice hosting you, Bruno, Norbert. Thank you so much. And this is Kit One episodes. Stay connected, and the conversation even continues after this. You can reach me in my Twitter handle, Vincent Odipo, and we continue the discussion. Back to you, Simon.
Whoa. Thank you very much for that. That was epic. I really didn't expect that you were going to be this good. What? I'm surprised. Like, this is his first time talking in front of a camera, hosting people, and he killed it. So then, thumbs up for that. And you guys, we are looking forward to doing a lot of stuff with him. So make sure you subscribe once again, and I will see you in the next video. Probably that's next week. So for now, Simon Kitvan, on behalf of everyone, I'm signing out.